And evidently, I forgot to turn on sound, as the production gaffes are, so we are now here. So once again, welcome everybody to the Corporate Esports Association Week 3 matchup between Microsoft, Wild Rift Mindset, and Googlers2. Obviously from Google, not from Amazon, although they do have a player who was on the Amazon team that won last season. Let's talk about that. Transpiercer, gonna be their top laner. Two X-Masters as well.
Interestingly, AP Shyvana top lane has been played a good bit recently. But Zedia also has these like really duelist heavy early game junglers, the Nidalee, the Elise, the Rek'Sai. Mezuzah has a lot of control mages and scaling, Cassiopeia, Victor, Malzahar. There's a lot of kind of just like, these are the play styles that we like to play, and even if you ban our champions, we're going to pick other champions that do the same thing.
Yeah, and once again, sorry about the audio issues. Evidently, I had Discord set to a different audio output than I normally have it set to, and I forgot to fix that. So, sorry, 1000, they only heard half of your beautiful analysis of what is going on.
Things.
I swear it is not intentional whatsoever. That said, we are getting ready to go here in the best of 3 matchup. A little bit of information about the teams, obviously. So starting on the blue side here will be Microsoft, Wild Rift Mindset. Their charity is Feed My Starving Children, which is a charity that is dedicated to providing meals for those in need worldwide. And Coinbird, their support, has in fact volunteered and donated to in the past and had good experience with them. So it's always nice to see players working with the charities individually, not just you know, in the capacity of a trying to think of the wording here. Not just monetarily, but hands-on type of volunteer work is very nice, and I quite enjoy it. And I think it's very commendable. As well as that, it's Microsoft, the one of the biggest tech companies around. As I currently run Windows because I'm forced to for League of Legends. I say that with all the love and respect in the world, but I am a Linux fanboy, so there is that. Microsoft has Windows subsystem for Linux, though. It's good times. They work on different areas in the company. I didn't get too much as far as what teams the individual players work with, but that can be discussed at a later date, perhaps, in the post-game interview if they win this best-of-3 series, which we'll see coming up. Google, on the other hand, the other major tech conglomerate corporation, actually the conglomerate would be Alphabet, but still, I'm excited to see these guys play. They work in different areas of the company as well. Their captain Shooks works with YouTube ads, so those ads that you see on the YouTube side and the plays and all that, you can blame Shooks for that. 100%. I'm memeing. And their charity is Annie Cannons, which is an organization that provides CS education for victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. So, really neat charity as well.
Yeah, I'm just really excited for this game today because it's going to be two teams just really highly ranked across the board, and I'm excited to kind of see like the macro play that is going to come out or lack of, and I can be very surprised and start flaming teams, which is always fun.
I mean, I mean, look, last week we had some fairly low-rated teams on stream. We got to make a lot of puns involving IBM and Linux.
Yeah, you got your dream. You got your dream last week. This is my dream this week. Let me have this.
Quality League of Legends here on the Corporate Esports Association Twitch channel. We always bring you alongside our quality casts. We're into the draft. First ban away will be the Camille, followed by the Kindred ban here, away from Small Torch. I quite like seeing Kindred ban. I think she is one of those junglers that a lot of people will overlook. However, I think she's probably the strongest jungler right now. Sans Graves, don't at me.
Yeah. So these are all the pocket picks for both teams. Zedia, very, very strong Elise. Small Torch is basically a Kindred one trick. So this does force him onto something a little bit different. And like to put this in perspective, for junglers, 417 games on the Kindred, 220 on the Lee Sin. That is like the next highest jungler. So it's obviously a huge takeaway there. And the Ashe is going to be the first pick, which I like because both 80 carries on these teams really heavily prioritize Ashe. It is the highest played champion for both 80 carries, and they both kind of play that utility 80 carry style.
But when you see an Ashe picked, obviously you have the ability to pick the Varus into it. I think that's kind of the more traditional counter to Ashe. Although Lethality Varus, which is the one that is better into the Ashe, has fallen out of favor recently, replaced with the on-hit Lethal Tempo Varus. We see the Ornn and the Rek'Sai being picked up by the side of Googlers2. And the Jarvan potentially picked into the Ornn. I quite like this. Even though you know that you don't have a terrain builder necessarily for Ornn to combo well with, I think you just want to be able to take a lot of the control that Ornn gives away, especially any way to stop him from getting the second call to call the Forge God by stopping the dash is really nice. We see Poppy also being picked up in the top lane here. Insanely good pick into the Ornn.
Insanely good pick into the Ornn. Also very good into the Rek'Sai because the tunnel does count as a dash. So it will pop Rek'Sai out of the tunnel. Also, this is Dragon Gary's pick. This is the top played champion for Dragon Gary. So this is just working out extremely well already and just kind of like functions well with what they are playing up against.
So Thousand, you've known me for a while. You know that I play Galio. You also know what I'm gonna say to this pick right now.
Yeah. You're going to
Uh,
say that it's going to absolutely fall off in the later game, and if it's not Aftershock, you are going to flame it for the entirety of the game.
yes, but also it's blind pick Galio, which he can get counterpicked very easily. This Cassiopeia has been banned away, but like you still have Syndra and Orianna to worry about as far as Galio matchups are concerned, and he just can't do anything against them. Just like any mid laner who deals a lot of poke is you're gone. You're gone. It doesn't matter if he has inherent magic resist on Shield or Durand. It's just he cannot take lanes against ranged poke damage. We see the Victor being banned away, which tells me that the Microsoft team doesn't think that this is Galio mid. It could be Galio support. If that's the case, I expect to see something like a Kaisa maybe come out from this bottom lane to go with the aggression that you're typically going to see from a Galio support, or potentially a Lucian.
Yeah, this is going to be Galio support. Mizusa has no games on it, and Kyle F has played it recently. So it is, and it also fits the same wheelhouse of that kind of like engaged, tanky support that Kyle F does like to play. So I would be very surprised if this does go mid lane. It is still possible. It is a flex pick right now, so could go there if they decide to, but honestly right here I'm probably looking to see, there's the Morgana actually, so this is still flex pick here, could go either way. I'm surprised they didn't take the 80 carry and let the flex pick go until the last pick there. So it might be a little bit of a mistake there, leaving the 80 carry up to last pick. Ari is the hover right now though.
I mean, when you see an Ashe already being picked away, I thought the ADC would be in that first rotation here. I'm not exactly sure why they're doing it like this. Probably just to preserve.
I think they wanted to know what the mid
flex
laner was, to know if it was safe to pick something that is going to be just a backline 80 carry.
Gotcha.
You don't want to pick a backline like a Kog'Maw or something and then have them pick like a Zed or some other type of assassin who's just going to ruin his day. And with the Bard coming in here, it does make it a little iffy to pick something that like a Twitch would probably be a better pick than a Kog'Maw or something. But Bard can really mess up those kinds of characters.
Hey,
there
regular
you go.
LS right here.
Yeah. Bard can work. It is such an iffy matchup because if Twitch pops up too early, Bard can ruin his day. The ultimate can come down and really make things rough. But at the same time, if you play it correctly and pop up where Bard cannot get a stun, Bard is just going to get eviscerated.
Yeah, and you do have to be wary of that in the bot lane. I do think Morgana in particular is a stronger matchup in a Bard than a lot of people give credit for.
Yes.
And on top of that, right, so this will be Morgana support in the Galio mid lane. The Galio did get counterpicked very heavily by this Ziggs. He hates fighting against people with range. He's very good in assassins, but you pick Ziggs, you pick Syndra, you pick Orianna, it's, you're donezo in lane. But you still have a Rek'Sai. And when you have Galio and Rek'Sai, what I'm looking for is these early rotations, not even on level 6. Well, or like level 6 obviously is a good rotation for Galio, but you can make these kind of level 3 or level 4 rotations with the Rek'Sai and get other lanes ahead. And when you see this Twitch Morgana lane, which wants to get gold as quickly as possible and get off the ground so as to not fall off in the mid, or not trough, I should say, in the mid game, I'm looking for these early rotations for sure.
Yeah, I think that, like, okay, so Galio into Ziggs sucks. It's not a fun lane. I think Galio can handle that just with the Q wave clear to a degree. Like, granted, Galio's going to get pushed in, lose some tower plates. It's not ideal. I think going into the mid game, though, Galio will be fine. He obviously can function fairly well with a bit of a gold deficit, just inherently due to his kit being a tankier person. But really, I think it will be okay. It's really going to be these early dragon fights that I'm watching because Galio with level 6, Rek'Sai who can come in from a lot of different angles with the tunnel, and then Twitch who also could show up in the back line there, just kind of suddenly show up and have Galio protect at the same time. There's, the Bard and the Ziggs, having that magic damage shield there is going to be very, very key. And Shooks needs to make sure that he's not going in too deep where he's going to get caught out by this Bard Jarvan Poppy combination here.
Yeah, and Jarvan Poppy, obviously we haven't talked on this at all, but Poppy likes terrain builders. Jarvan's a terrain builder. You can CC people into oblivion.
Or breaks terrain.
Ornn breaks terrain, but at the same time, like, it's one of those cases where it's who's gonna react first. Is it gonna be the flaming charge, or is it gonna be the Poppy, or the searing charge, I should say? And the thing you have to worry about is searing charge gets negated by the Poppy W. So, I honestly like this Ornn pickup. Very good in the late game, and I don't want to diminish that, but I do think this Ornn pickup definitely got punished by the draft from the Microsoft squad here, and I do think if they play this correctly around the top side of the map, which it looks like they want to do when they have the Ziggs winning lane against the Galio, and you have a winning lane for the Poppy, they can sufficiently put this Galio and Ornn behind in the mid game, so as they can't kind of deal with Twitch's mid game trough, because he has very good lane or decent laning, he has insanely good end game. This mid game trough is something that you have to worry about. If your Galio gets behind, you have no damage mid game, and his Ziggs can just roll over you.
Yeah, it's kind of going to be a little bit of a skill matchup because it's going to be who pulls the trigger first on their abilities for top lane. You can kind of bait out the Poppy W and then kind of just go in after it goes down. That's always kind of how Poppy W really works because it does not last for very long. And Ornn in just a straight up, like we're going to auto attack and use damaging spells on each other, Poppy will lose that matchup most of the time because Ornn's dueling ability as a tank is very, very good.
And we are now into the game, so time to introduce the teams. On the blue side, it is Microsoft Wild Rift Mindset, or Wild Growth Mindset, I should say. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the mobile game coming soon. Dragon Gary in the top lane, Small Torch in the jungle, Splash in the mid lane, Mr. Ham 10 in the AD carry position, and Coinbird in support.
And over on the red side, we do have... Oh my goodness, I know it is Google, but I'm blanking on the name.
Googlers2.
Googlers2, yes. We have Transpiercer on the top side. We have Zedia in the jungle, Mezuzah in the mid lane, Shooks and Kyle on the bot side. I have to get that out quick because got some level 1 shenanigans.
Mild shenanigans, but the Vision game, well, it does benefit Googlers2. It's not super deep, and they should not get any meaningful intel from it just because of Jarvan's starting topside, and he knows that the wards are there, so he's not going to path around that way. If he goes for a level 2 cheese mid, they'll be able to get something from it, but I don't think that's what he wants to do because it's very hard to gank a Galio. If Galio has the level 2. Obviously, he took the Winds of War level 1 here, so there is a chance, but it's just a wee chance.
Both junglers starting on the top side does tell me they want to try and both be on that bottom side for their first gank. So looking, and both teams have some kind of setup for ganks here, so not a horrible choice here. And could see some shenanigans coming around the 3-minute mark.
Yeah, and I love shenanigans in my League of Legends games. At the moment, nothing too insane CS-wise. We see the Poppy currently pulling a little bit of a CS lead on the Ornn as well as an experience lead, but Ornn's just sitting under tower here. It's a tough matchup for him. he's going to have to play back in this lane. Obviously, Poppy, not someone you typically call a strong side top laner, but in this matchup, you can just abuse the living crap out of the Ornn until he gets to the Sunfire Cape, which is going to be the plan.
Yeah, both junglers getting some aggression in this mid lane here.
Speaking of aggression, as I said, going for these aggressive trades on Splash, and that's something you have to really worry about if you're the Ziggs here, is playing too far forward. You have the range advantage on the Galio. You have to play like that, because if Galio can step up to you, he will out-trade you. This is what makes him so powerful against AP assassins in particular. It's just so difficult to out-trade him at close range. But if you can keep your distance and use the satchel charge in particular to your advantage, this will go Ziggs' way eventually.
Yeah, and we actually saw, just because of the early bindings that Kyle F was able to hit, the lane pressure was going for Shooks and Kyle F, and that did mean that they could go.
The Rek'Sai gank over the wall. Splash will be able to flash out of the way and then use the satchel charge. And Flash forced out of Splash, or J Splash I should say, does not feel great. But at the same time, you know, you're not giving a kill over to the Rek'Sai, you're not giving one over to the Galio. You know that Rek'Sai is going to be in our top side jungle, which means that you can prepare on the bottom side for a Jarvan gank if you want to do that. However, you have winning top side lanes. I'm looking for this first Jarvan gank. We haven't seen it quite yet.
It's going to come. Yeah, it's coming right now.
As Direct to Camera wants us to see bot lane, we see the flag and drag into the taunt.
TP
being channeled from Transpiercer, though. They're just going to walk out of that one.
Both TPs
TP also
used,
channeled
actually.
from Dragon Gary, so both TPs used. We have TP available on the Galio, but he will take his back. Transpiercer almost stunned up against the wall there by the Poppy. Here comes the Rek'Sai. Flag and drag is on cooldown.
Wait, Torch.
Knock up, small Torch. Has to be very careful with the Poppy Q, but Zeta with the flash will be able to secure the first blood for Googlers2.
And I'm a little confused why Small Torch was going forward there. I'm pretty sure they did see Zedia before he got in the bush. So a little bit of over-aggression from Small Torch does get punished. Zedia does burn the flash. And both teleports being used from the top laners here. J-Splash also TP'd back into lane for that. And right now, this Ziggs is very, very vulnerable. There's no summoner spells for him. And Galio sets up Rek'Sai extremely well, so I would not be surprised to see more.
Oh, nice Poppy stun. Steadfast Presence gets out of the way. Transpiercer has to be very careful now, because a single Poppy Q auto will destroy him as the tower
Small Torch is going to get caught out here.
Oh, there's the flash and another E.
Woo.
Dragon Gary with the solo kill styling on Transpiercer at the moment. We do see a fight developing bot side around this Dragon Pit, though. Zedia currently on the inside path, but here goes the flash over the wall. The early smite from Small Torch means that he won't be able to get onto Zedia. Now the taunt lancer the Galio, and another kill goes over to this mid lane. As is first kill of the game here, but that's 2 kills to 1 advantage for Googlers2 in this early game.
Yeah, and Small Torch got a little bit over-aggressive there once again, as the flash inwards when there was a blast cone up to get over the wall. Also, if Coinbird had gotten over a little bit sooner, could have used the Bard portal. But burning flash, not able to flag drag back out, and that will cost him another death here, as Zedia really has the pressure in this game right now.
Yeah, and when you take 2 early game bruiser junglers like the Rek'Sai and the Jarvan, the one that wins here in this early game will have the most effect in team fights. Especially Rek'Sai needs to get ahead earlier. Obviously, Jarvan can just build Chank and be useful as an ult bot, but with this kill and assist onto Zedia, you now have to be very concerned once she gets the warrior enchant where this Rek'Sai is going to gank. We do see the first kill of the game going on to the Mezisa as well, and we talked about this. Dragon priority needed to be a huge thing for this Googlers2 squad. They pick up the first dragon. Great start to this game.
Yeah, and like you said, Jarvan can build tank, but we do see the longsword coming out, so it looks like it's going to still be the aggressive Jarvan build here. The Kindle Gem already on Mezuzah, and once that Proto Belt does come through, that will be a good way for Mezuzah to counteract a lot of the push that J-Splash is going to have. So if they want to get tower damage down, it needs to come soon, or Mezuzah is going to be able to keep the wave in a better spot.
I'm interested as to what the thought process was behind taking the Kindle Gem over the Hextech Revolver. Typically, you take the Revolver just because it procs at the same time as Aftershock, and you get the extra damage in on that. But obviously, I'm not as high ranked as him. I don't know what he's thinking. Probably smarter than me.
Yeah, I think the main reason behind it is it does allow to take a bit more poke. It also means that your cooldowns are up more often, and the damage is not coming from Mezuzah in these ganks. It's coming from Zedia. If they don't need more damage to confirm kills onto the Ziggs at this point because Zedia already has the Warrior enchant. It is just to survive poke and have more cooldowns to set up Zedia better.
Yeah, the Arcane Comet from J-Splash does feel really bad as Galio. Like, once again, he's playing the matchup pretty admirably, I should say. Like, 1 kill to 0 at the moment. He's only 5 CS down. But this can go a lot worse for the Galios, so it's really just impressive play from Mezuzah. Dragon Gary, though, nice steadfast presence.
Worth noting that Steadfast Presence is a much longer cooldown than Searing Charge, so blowing that on what would definitely not be a knockup is very big, as bot lane has a lot of stuff going on right now.
Direct to camera finally showing us the flash forward. They're able to get the root down onto the Twitch. The flag and drag the knockup. And
oh no, you helped him!
He dies going into the ultimate. That's another 2 kills over to the Googlers2 squad, and they can't get anything in return. Call the Forge God being channeled here, but the steadfast presence is there. Still gets the knockup though, and Transpiercer picks up the kill.
Yeah, Transpiercer are doing a great job up in the top side there, and you can see you're starting to get that scaling for the Ornn to be able to fight that Poppy. But really, I'm just questioning what Coinbird was doing there, because that ultimate did nothing but help the enemy team. Ended up hitting the tower and giving a bunch of free time under it.
Oh, Galio. Gonna be used.
Shooks
in a bit of trouble. Flashes out of the way. He's ignited up. Small Torch trades back the damage. Shooks will fall. Kyle left in a 1v3. No kills. There's the 1 for 2.
Yeah, finally Small Torch able to get on the board there, as they do get Shooks down, and now the Blade of the Ruin King coming out there, so it's not going to be the tier build from the Twitch here, wanting to have that survivability and early game pop-off moment, as, yeah, Mr.
You're also
Ham
against
now.
Poppy Jarvan, so the tank shred is nice.
Yeah, the tank shred is nice, but I think, honestly, it's just, the tier build is just more damage. The Blade of the Ruin King is a one-item, like, power spike and survivability deal.
I mean, you see the same thing on the Ashe right now as well.
Yeah.
Currently has 17 stacks left on the Cull, is 7 CS down, so really we're looking at even gold between the two of them. I was right, only about 100 gold difference. Dragon has spawned. It will be the Cloud Dragon. 10% ultimate CDR on Galio and Ornn is very nice, if I do say so myself, and it looks like they'll be able to take this one in exchange for a Rift Herald.
Yeah, and now that is 2 dragons there, as we do see it is going to be the Ocean Dragon map coming through. So, honestly, this is looking really good. Ocean Dragon probably would have rather had the Infernal, but honestly, you're not unhappy if you can get an Ocean Soul on a Galio and a Ornn as well. His first tower looks to be going to be coming down from the Rift Herald here.
Yeah, Transpiercer can't really stop this one, and That should be the first tower. Transpiercer's
He
gotta be
needs to
very
get out.
careful, though. Steadfast Presence is gonna use the spell of the Forge God. Gets a knock-up on Dragon Gary. Zedia is here. Goes back in with the Searing Charge. Here comes the Poppy.
Good dodge.
Himself, but the small torch falls as the Poppy Hammer comes through. Zedia going to try to get the damage back onto Dragon Gary, but he gets the shutdown with the empowered auto attack. It will be a 1-for-1 jungler for jungler, but the gold goes over to Microsoft Wild Growth Mindset.
Yeah, and that's actually a very, very favorable trade for Microsoft there, as Dragon Gary able to get the shutdown as well as get that first tower gold here. And meanwhile, J-Splash getting a bunch of damage on this tower here. The plates will be falling in 1 minute, so anything that needs to come through fairly quickly, and Transpiercer might be caught out again.
Yeah, we're on to even gold right now. Transpiercer has to be
just chase
very
him
careful.
down.
He doesn't have a tower. Tries
Yeah,
to
he's
get a
dead.
Bell's Breath, Brittle Proc. Flash out of the way, but the Steadfast Presence should be able to make up the gap. E forward Q and one auto attack should do it. Actually, just going to pick it up off the Sunfire Cape burn. Speaking of, both top laners opting for the Sunfire Cape start, but they do get components towards their second item before they complete the Sunfire Cape. I do like this build path from both of them. I think Catalyst is so good for Ornn and lane, and as well as the auto attack empowerment you get.
Wait, Mezuzah!
Wait. So you don't dive Jarvan with ult up. I
Oh
saw
my
that
goodness.
happening and I just didn't believe it.
Yeah. I'm
big mistake
incredibly
there.
impressed. Small Torch played that very
The
well.
knockup. Here comes the Rek'Sai ultimate, though. The flash forward.
Wait, no, stop!
Gets the damage, and it's 1-for-1. That was so greedy.
This is just getting sloppy now from Google, as the dive on the Jarvan, not ideal, and then Small Torch got out and bought a lot of time for J-Splash there.
Well, this is here in the J-Splash, though. Gets a lot off of the
Transpiercer.
TP. Poppycopter. Nice one. As he flashes over, tries to get J-Splash with the taunt. He'll get it. Ash Arrow comes in, though. This will be a 1-for-1 trade to mid laners as Dragon Gary picks up the kill. And I was trying to remember Nimbus Cloak in the midst of all that. I think that kind of baited Mezusa, as it does for me when I have Nimbus Cloak available. I'm TPing, I'm like, oh man, I want to engage. I'm so fast. Sometimes you just got to take it slow. So right now, the gold has shifted almost to 2K in Microsoft Wild Growth's favor. And this is pretty much just on shutdowns.
It's actually on towers, is what it is.
And towers. Towers and shutdowns. Well, it's what, 2 shutdowns plus 2 towers?
Yes.
The
majority of it is coming from the towers. I can tell you that for sure.
This does not look good for Googlers2 here. They have the Twitch late game scaling, but going into the mid game with Galio behind and the Rek'Sai behind as well does not feel great. Obviously, Rek'Sai still has about an 800 gold advantage, but that's not what it was. She was ahead much harder. And with this Jarvan going into the next item, or the next item, I'm all over the place today. The next item, Black Cleaver. It's gonna start tearing into the Ornn as well.
A little bit. I honestly, we're hitting the point where Transpiercer's gonna start getting the Ornn items in the next couple of levels. Mezuzah has hit level 11 now, and that's the important thing for the Galio. It's less about the gold, because the items are less important on Galio than the levels.
Searing Charge, Small Torch will be able to make his way out with Flag and Drag as we see the follow-up from Zedia and a nice ultimate to do it. Guys, Bard ultimate does disengage the fight as Zedia tries to get the Mr. Ham to catch out of the way, but he gets taken down by the Prey Seeker. Coinbird might be the next one to fall, though, as he gets knocked up. Here comes the Galio ulti, and Coinbird goes down the flash to avoid the Mega Inferno Bomb. The J-Splash has the flash out of the way. The knockup lands from the Ornn as Shox stays alive just barely, and the shutdown lands onto the Poppy. That's 4-for-0, and Googlers2 come out ahead in the fight. They're going to grab the Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, and these messy fights are perfect for the Google comp, because Galio can fly in, help Zedia out as he's deep in the back line. Shooks can show up out of nowhere The Bard ult did stop the Ornn ultimate, but just with everybody spread out everywhere, all of these champions are good in these 1v1, 2v2 kind of situations, and you can see how well it worked out for Google's composition as they now are on Soul Point.
Yeah, you know, Microsoft, I know your charity's about feeding the hungry, but Googlers2, not necessarily hungry right now. I think they're pretty full. You can stop that anytime you want. They're only about 500 gold ahead, but they are on Soul Point, and I think that is super important to note when you have this Galio and this Rek'Sai, who the Rek'Sai's, you know, back on the map, but, you know, without Soul, this could turn into a dicey endgame, but they're on Soul Point. 4 minutes.
Yeah, Galio, Ornn, both of them really love the Ocean Soul because it just keeps them in the fight for so long.
Oh, J-Splash is caught,
J-Splash, uh-oh.
Nice.
Yep, here comes Arnold.
Here comes the call.
Goodbye.
God, the knock up. Small torches here, the flash forward. He's going to try to get Transpiercer down. Maybe a trade, but the Ziggs is gone due to the brittle auto. Coinbird is here, so it will be a trade of mid for top. Not able to get the stun, though. Dragon Carry, also around her Dragon Carry, I should say. Flag, drag, Transpiercer. Should be stunned against the wall, and he is. And,
you guys are blowing a lot of ultimates here.
I don't think you needed the Cataclysm or the Keeper's Verdict there, but you do you. TP being channeled. This is Dragon Gary stops a mid lane tower from falling, and the gold has once again swung back into Microsoft's favor, and this is what we were talking about. It's going to be a close game. It feels like the tempo's been in Googlers2's favor, but Microsoft Wild Growth still hanging in there, and they still have this Ziggs on their team, and once it gets to 2 items, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. We already see the Edge of Night coming out from Zedia in anticipation.
Yeah, I think the later this game goes, the better it is for Google, though, because the Galio, while like not going to be the damage threat, they have the Twitch, and the Galio can protect them. The Morgana can protect the Twitch. The Ornn is going to scale up incredibly nicely, and I don't think that the Ashe, like the Fed person on Microsoft's team is Dragon Gary, and I don't think Dragon Gary can do enough to stop this Twitch with all of that protection. So with Mr. Ham being, you know, a bit behind right now, the Ziggs I don't think can consistently get damage onto the Twitch, and Zedia is so far ahead that both J-Splash and Mr. Ham, like one of them is going to be just running out of the fight because of this Rek'Sai diving onto them.
Yeah, and you can't peel the Rek'Sai ulti unless you have a Galio.
Also, this just keeps happening.
Channeled here. Yeah, the Mega Inferno Bomb down, but J-Splash caught. We do see the ult coming in from the Ornn as Dragon Gary makes his way into the Steadfast Presence. Going to be taunted up, rooted up by the Morgana into the knockup of the Galio, and that's going to be a 2-for-0 fight as soon as this Poppy dies. That could be an NA Baron for Googlers2.
Yeah, this is absolutely a Baron. Shooks can burn this down fairly quickly, and with Mezuzah and Zedia and Transpiercer, they can tank that up for so long. It would have to take a miracle steal from Small Torch to get this away.
Doubly a miracle considering Zedia has a level advantage too. Coinbird on the side of the fight will be trying to find something. This is actually a soft Baron call from Googlers2, and they're turning it around. The Ashe gonna pop the ultimate on him. Mezuzah, but he has the Mercury Treads. 2-man stun lands from the Bard. And that will be enough to end the fight. I like the soft Baron call from Googlers2. However, they weren't able to get the engage off necessarily, and good Cosmic Binding from the Bard to stop the fight for good.
Yeah, the Cosmic Binding was really the big thing there, Mr. Ham. Blowing the ultimate there, and honestly, though, getting the Ashe ultimate out can be worthwhile as the dragon is about to come, and that takes away any pick potential that could come through. And What really worries me is just how often Microsoft is getting picked. They are going deep into the enemy jungle without the wards they need to do so, and you can see how often they're getting picked off.
Though, picking off Coinbird as we were talking about it. He flashes out of the way. Zig's gonna try to do the damage. The flash auto attack from Mezisa will be enough to secure the kill. That's a bard down. That's most of your CC. A nice flash from Mr. Ham, though, to get out of the way of the Ornn charge. Zig's on the side of the fight, Zedia coming in.
Yeah, so much is just being used to stay alive here. They have to burn the flash,
This is just gonna be game if they get this. They have to go for it, but here comes the ultimate from the Morgana, and the flag and drag into the Cataclysm onto the backline. Small Torch knocked up, the Transpiercer
Shooks is still alive.
To Mr. Ham, Shooks gets the kill onto the enemy jungler as Kyle takes out the top laner. It's gonna be a 3 for 0. That's gonna be Dragon, that's gonna be Soul, and that's pretty much the game here as Googlers2 have set this tempo insanely well. I can't imagine, even with all the turrets available for Microsoft Wild Growth, them coming back into this game unless they can hold off to the Elder Dragon.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big task here. But like a lot of these mistakes, a lot of what got Google ahead is Microsoft pushing into the jungle and getting caught out consistently. It was every single advantage that they got in terms of these fights was because they're taking these skirmishes that their team comp cannot handle. They need to play a front-to-back team fight in order to win these fights, because the Twitch and the Rek'Sai, they thrive in these kind of like 3v3 scenarios where everyone's kind of just like really off center and pushing in these weird scenarios where like this Ziggs is really far forward and having issues, you know, getting caught out.
Might be picked, but here comes the call of the Forge God. Mezisa gonna go ahead and pop the Zonius, as does Zedia. Shooks picks up the kill onto the enemy AD carry. We see the TP coming in from Dragon Gary as he uses the Steadfast Presence to get away. That's an Ash down and a Runon's Hurricane on a Twitch. They're looking for this Baron very soon.
Yeah, and you could see for a second there, if they just play these fights out slowly and they just back off and kind of fight this front to back, this Ziggs can hurt. The damage that it hit, the one bomb on 4 people took a chunk out of everybody. But they're not playing these fights like that. They're just constantly going too far forward, and then they get punished with this.
A nice satchel charge, but he keeps on diving under tower. Will be stunned off. Flag and drag out of the way as Zedia goes on a killing spree. That will be the hero's entrance used as well to make sure Zedia stays alive. It's going to be a 1 for 0. Lots of damage onto the tower. They keep on keeping on with this push. They need to be able to get another pick before Baron, and that pick needs to be Small Torch. He's flashless.
Yeah, and Microsoft, what they need to do, they just need to reset, group as 5, and siege a lane. Get vision down as you move up so you don't get flanked. Clear out vision so you don't get teleport flanked. But like, that's a lot that needs to happen for Microsoft just to get in a favorable position. I don't know if it's really possible for them to do, but that is what they need to make happen. They can't constantly push up in this jungle and get caught out. They need to just move up and siege. You have a Ziggs, you have an Ashe. If you fight front to back, that is your only option to get back in this game.
So something interesting to point out is Ornn upgraded the Zonia's Paradox on the Galio here before the Black Cleaver or the Rek'Sai, and of course not going to upgrade the Bork here because you're waiting for the IE from the Twitch. I like this decision quite a bit, just because you don't really have a good person to upgrade at the moment, so just getting it out of the way on the Ornn so that someone has the power on the Galio, so someone has a power is a very good decision. Meanwhile,
yeah, because the Rek'Sai is already big. Rek'Sai is already doing damage, as you can see.
Yeah, Zedia spell shielded up, gonna make sure he doesn't go down low. They're gonna take this tower on the top side soon. Transpiercer though, stunned up against the wall. And I have to point out, Dragon Gary has been playing very well this game. It just hasn't been able to have as much of an impact as possible. I kind of want to see him on a bruiser next game. just to see if maybe they can get the solo carry off of the Poppy, because he's playing this pick very well. It's just there's only so much you can do outside of potentially peeling a Galio in a fight.
I mean, this is Dragon Gary's pick, though. It's just that as the game goes on, Ornn outscales this Poppy pretty heavily, as you can see. And right now, with the pressure in the top side and the mid lane here, they need to push out this mid lane, and then Baron is on the table for Google.
They can do a soft Baron now. The health bars are there. Really just depends on what they.
No, they want to get this mid lane. They want to push mid lane in, make it scary, make Microsoft make the same mistake as
Zedia pops the ultimate. Bard gonna put down the Temple of Fate, but here comes Mezusa. Knockup hits onto 2 as well as the taunt. Kyle up on a killing spree as the ADC dies. Will be 2 for 0, and that's gonna be Baron for Googlers2. And once again, I think a lot of this comes down to the tempo that they set, and as you mentioned, these picks, Microsoft Wild Growth can't afford to get picked like this.
Yeah, and that's exactly why you push that mid lane, though, because you saw they pushed the mid lane there, and either you catch somebody trying to get it out before you, or you push it in and both top and mid are pushed in, and you don't get into that, you basically force them into that situation. You force them into that situation of, we have to go into these unwarded areas that are scary for us, and exactly what have put us behind.
Yeah, we see the Executioner's calling on Mr. Ham 10 as well. Should point out, you have the Ocean Soul, who's got Grievous, only one member of Googlers2. I want to see a Bramble Vest on the Poppy. I know you want to get the Death Dance, but like...
Dance on the Poppy.
Like, I think it's an alright item, but I think you need the Bramble Vest
I do not.
first.
I do not think that is the call right now.
DCAT completed on J-Splash, though. Needs to get a Morello's. Doesn't matter how much healing is on the enemy team if they have an Ocean Soul. You need Grievous. Yeah. Fun times. IE also completed on Shooks here. His Transpiercer should be able to upgrade the IE, and D does. It's a Molten Edge now. Zedia on the side. Prey Seeker out. Call the Forge.
Oh no, Ham.
The Astros is swing and a miss. Zedia will be able to go ahead and get the knock up on a Mr. Ham. That's going to be a dead Ash despite the Summoner heal blown. Coinberg did a flash out of the way of Shooks, but he goes all sneaky beaky like. Will be a 1 for 0. They're not even going to go on the Elder yet. They're just going to play it slow and steady, and I think Googlers2. Oh, but here comes the Galio ultimate. Small Torch gets melted.
Got flash and heal.
Up, and Shooks is unstoppable.
Yeah, Shooks can play that aggressive because they've not been able to force any of the defensive summoner spells out there. The heal and the flash still available for Shooks, so even if they do get on him, he can flash and dodge everything and let the Galio frontline once he gets in.
Yeah, great hero's entrance as well. They've already started the Elder Dragon here, so it should be Elder to Googlers2. And honestly, you know, typically when a team sets the tempo like this, you're looking for a win by the 25-minute mark. But, like, you know, 4 Drakes and an Elder, you're on 30 minutes? Yeah, but this has been kind of clinical ever since they got the soul point. Kyle did have to use the Zonia's Hourglass. Gonna get rooted up and shut down lands. Coinbird takes the journey over the wall. Magical Journey will be a 1 for 1, and a support for an ADC. Even with the shutdown, it's going to be worth it for Googlers2. There's
no.
The ultimate J-Splash going to try to take the satchel charge out, but he will fall. And Zedia has been massive this whole game.
Yep. Zedia has been the early game, and now Shooks is online, so will be just the late game damage coming through. And this game is basically just, we're just waiting to see them push this into the end.
It's been over since the soul point got taken, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean it was starting to look over beforehand even.
But the gold was even, and that's like the one thing where it's like your Ashe is technically ahead of the Twitch ever so slightly. You have even gold, you might be able to do something, but I think once again it comes down to these picks. As we see the Baron going to be taken once again by Googlers2. I mean, they just don't want to make any mistakes, and I don't blame them. This is just clean play. You have a Twitch. You don't really have to worry too much about your late game fights. Like, Ashe is not going to out damage you. You're safe against the Ziggs. Mega Inferno Bomb is a complete and total whiff, too. Dragon, or Baron, I should say, will be taken. Traded for a bot turret, though. So GG easy. Microsoft Wild Growth.
Microsoft says, hey, your tower's down, guys. Take that.
It's a moral victory. It's the moralist of moral victories.
You might have Baron, an Elder Dragon, an Ocean Soul, but your tier 2 bot lane tower, all ours, baby.
Just be like Seto Kaiba. Just being like... like you know the meme where it's like Yugi has the one thing, and the Seto Kaiba's like, but I have this thing. And Yugi's like, you activated my trap card. That's what we're witnessing right now. Ornn was caught
Speaking
up
of trap
in
cards,
the Cataclysm. Gonna be stunned by the Poppy. Transpiercer will go down, but like...
so goofy.
You take 4 members to kill you, and in exchange you get 2 towers and an inhib. Worth any day of the week. Like, this is just, once again, like, solid play from Google too. So yeah, yep. basically what I'm saying is the Yugi in that scenario was the, but I got a tower. Mizusa gonna go ahead and pick up a 2-man stun and a kill immediately. And not even worth talking about the rest of this fight because it's already over. Shuk's dominating. Mizusa gets knocked up, but he will get a taunt down. Ashe will pick up a kill. Double kill with the Twitch, though, as he tries to get a Mr. Ham. Rek'Sai will be able to pop through the summoner heal fairly easy, as Small Torch is the only member alive. And, yep, that's game. Googlers2 gonna pick up the first game of the series, go up 1-0. We will have a game 2 following this. But, man, what a clean game. Except for the 2 times the Rek'Sai got called out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like... I wouldn't say it was a clean game, but it definitely became one once we hit that like 15-20 minute mark. The Ornn and the Twitch really coming in clutch in the mid to late game, and the tower advantage was not... Yeah. The tower advantage was not pushed hard enough there. Dragon Gary got a really good early lead, and then the Ornn just started scaling. And I think what needed to happen is Dragon Gary needed to get to that bottom lane earlier than he did. Mr. Ham and Coinbird were not able to make enough happen. And by the time Dragon Gary started showing up, Mizusa and Zedia had already targeted this bottom lane. The Ashe and the Bard got pushed into the tower, and the constant poke made them so easy to dive. And from that point onwards, the tempo was just constantly in Google's favor.
Yeah, and once again, I think the key word this game is going to be tempo. It's so difficult to gain tempo when you've already lost so much, and there were times when Microsoft started gaining a little bit back, but like Google noticed they were being over aggressive, and we're like, hey, we can push the tempo, but we don't have to, force everything. And Rek'Sai stopped dying, and they just win the game.
Yeah, so honestly, a good first game from Google, and curious to see what the adaptation is going to be for Microsoft there. I feel like the Poppy was not the issue in terms of the pick, but the way that it was played out after getting the lead did leave some things to be desired. Curious too if they're going to maybe ban away. I think this Galio was really important in this composition, as well as the Rek'Sai there. They already had to take away the Elise, so maybe put Small Torch on something a little bit less of an early game champion and try and outscale, because I think if they had a bit more of a front line there, they might have had an opportunity to really turn that game around.
Yeah, but they needed another late game scaler besides the Ashe. Like, Ziggs can scale late, but that was not a game where he was going to outdamage the Twitch. So I think when you have these kind of scenarios from a draft perspective, you have to think, okay, so first of all, I think it was a great draft from Google, and I don't want to diminish that at all, because that, like, I'm not a huge fan of the blind Galio pickup, but the overall team composition was just so good for them because it had late game insurance, but it also had like this very good early to mid game. And I think when you put that against a team where you theoretically have 2 winning lanes and you should be able to get this early game advantage, it's like, okay, so how do we deal with this? How do we adjust that? I think what happens is you put your top laner on a champion that will scale harder is number one. And number two, or a champion that can solo carry, because I think that was really well played from their top lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think number two, you have to pick an AD carry or that scales much harder than Ashe, or pick a more scaling mid laner.
Yeah. I think part of the issue is Microsoft did not play to their comp's strengths. They tried to play into what Google was doing. Like I mentioned, they needed to siege with that composition. Ashe and the Ziggs are super great at sieging, but right now you need to, with that composition, not play into the enemy jungle and get caught out moving forward and trying to split push. You need to stay together and force them to play front to back.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that one. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, though. When we come back, we'll be here with game number 2, Googlers2 versus Microsoft Wild Rift Mentality. Or Wild Rift, was it Mentality? Wild Rift Mindset.
Growth.
Wild Growth Mindset. You know what?
You really want to play Wild Rift?
Yeah, you know, I got my phone right here, ready to go to play Wild Rifts. You know, I'm coming for you. Gonna be challenger in Wild Rift and still gold in League of Legends. We'll see you after the break, and hopefully you won't touch that browser. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and bees of all ages, welcome back to the Corporate Esports Association Week 3 matchup between Googlers2 and Microsoft Wild Growth Mindset. My name is PhiNick, joined on the desk today, as always, by the ever-lovely, effervescent Thousand Eyes. How are we feeling going into this game number 2?
Feeling pretty good. So teams have switched sides this time around. I want to see draft adaptations, and more importantly, I want to see playstyle adaptations here. Depending on what kind of composition we see from both teams, just like, do we understand what our compositions are trying to do, and are we going into that? So right now, obviously, Google has the upper hand. They don't have as much they need to change around, but Microsoft, on the other hand, I want to see something a little bit more in line with their composition from the jungle. And I want to see if Dragon Gary is going to be on that Poppy. Are they playing that correctly based on what the Poppy is playing into?
They like Dragon Gary did very well that game. I definitely want to see him on a carry champion. Like I know he wants the Poppy. I want to see him on a carry champion. I think it would be very, very good for that, for them if they did that. We'll see though. We're about to get into the draft here momentarily. I would also like to point out, Lee Sin was not banned away that last game from J-Torch. I don't expect it to be banned away from Googlers or by Googlers2 this game. So if that's not the case, I want to see the Lee Sin. I want to see comfort from Microsoft.
I don't know if Lee Sin would have done much better there is the thing. Because
I don't necessarily think it was a better pick. I just think it's comfort might have more to do. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if I entirely agree, mainly just because the issue was more J4 and Lee Sin fit a similar vein, and I think the issue was more the positioning and jungle pathing from Small Torch than it was the comfort on the pick. It was not that J4 made mechanical mistakes, it was being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and also just how easily that Jarvan could get blown up in the later portions of the game when they needed that extra time for their backline.
All right. I see you. I see you. They might be in a similar vein, but only one of them synergizes with Vayne. That would be Jarvan, because terrain.
That was a segue and a half.
That was a segue and a half. I want to see Vayne. Jarvan, please. Vayne, Jarvan, and Anivia Poppy. Bard, I think. Oh, wait, because Bard actually would get a stun off Anivia wall and Jarvan Cataclysm. Ban adaptations here. We see the Rek'Sai ban come through as well as
Ornn as well.
The Ornn and the Morgana. So just get those 3 champions out of there. I like the Rek'Sai ban. I think it makes a lot of sense. No ban changes from Googlers2, and we see the Ashe first pick. We expected this going in. We expected the contested Ashe. 2 games, 2 Ashe first picks. Dragon Gary will respond with the Senna, or I should say Mr. Hamten will respond to the Senna. Could go on to Coinbird, but we will see if that's the case. And Small Torch, once again, going to be on the Jarvan pick, potentially.
I actually expect this on Coinbird. Both supports, their second highest played champion in ranked is the Senna, and they both do fairly well on it. So this actually is looking to be a double marksman bot lane there with the Senna. So Jarvan, once again, coming through. I want to see Small Torch adapt better if Zedia does get ahead on something early game focused. The Elise is up and the Nidalee as well. So yeah, Nidalee coming through. Zedia obviously feeling real confident after last game, and when you're feeling confident on your jungle game, that is the pick you expect to see.
10.19. We are still on the Worlds patch right now, I might add.
I think we're on 10.20.
No. We're still on 10.19. I'm gonna double check this because I'm gonna feel sad.
Yeah, we should be on 1020.
Uh,
We absolutely should be on 1020.
we are on 1020. I'm dumb. It's been 2 weeks.
I was gonna say we got patch notes.
We're not on the world's patch because look. All right. I've been watching a lot of worlds recently. I know. I know. When it's world's time, junglers feeling confident, you go on the Nidalee. Anyways, I was trying to make something about the Nidalee here and how it's basically surpassed Elise as far as early game AP junglers go. We see the Galio being picked up once again by Medusa, but this time it's going to be the Cassiopeia from J Splash. Was banned away from him last game, and I think this is a very good pickup into the Galio. Has a lot of that ranged poke that you need, as well as the ability to disrupt the Galio Justice Punch. And unlike a lot of other things where you just have to predict the miasma, it's very easy to get Galio on a miasma with the Justice Punch, because there's a knock, like the second you see him go back, you just miasma where he's going to be, and then he can't go forward. It's a fun time. Yeah, I don't like this matchup as Galio.
It is not a fun matchup as Galio. I think it's worse than the Ziggs, especially because of how well Cassiopeia can protect herself, as we are seeing more crowd control taken away from Google here. I also do like these picks with the Nidalee, because one of Nidalee's weaknesses is her ability to do things in ganks if she does not have the setup. And between a Galio and an Ashe, there is a lot of setup for her. And wow, they are really focusing Dragon Gary out here, as that is the 2 most played champions Dragon Gary has available. So he's going to be on something a little bit less comfortable than we have seen in solo queue. So, Mr.
You
Ham,
safe counter pick here. This has to be the ADC pick.
This has to be ADC or support, based on, if they really want to put Mr. Ham on the AD carry Senna, and it will be.
Ooh.
So, I like this composition so far. The Braum, I'm a little bit less of a fan of with the Senna, because she is not going to proc that stun super well. Cassiopeia also does not really auto attack very much, so not going to be able to set that stun up terribly well either.
What do you mean Twin Fangs isn't an auto attack?
Yeah, I mean Twin Fangs basically is her auto attack, and that is not what you want with a Braum. The one good thing Senna does have is Braum will want to stand in front of her, as the Lulu is being hovered here, and I really like all of this composition from Google here. You got protection for the Ashe, you've got speed.
You just have 3 gankable lanes.
Yeah, all of these lanes are super gankable, even despite not having any crowd control on Zedia.
So with the Jace band away, right? To play into Kennen, you either need to play a tank, or you need to play Quinn. Or I guess
I think you just play a frontliner here.
Yeah, like you just have to play the frontliner, I think.
Oh,
that's Cassiopeia top, baby. Let's go. I love it. No, it's not. Never mind.
No, it's not. It was not. Somebody
Mystic.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
They ran out of time.
I was so happy. I was so hyped. I'm like, Cassiopeia top into Kennen. Now that would have been client bugged for the last pick. Unfortunate. It was supposed to be Renekton.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes
Kennen
sense.
Kennen does get pretty dookied on by Renekton. So R5 Renekton.
I was all hyped about the cast top. I thought that would have been so much. Look, that's a great matchup into Kennen. Yeah, we're getting client restart. So technical difficulties. Sorry, we don't have any mystery biscuits for you. It's a joke. Tom Scott, the technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
citation.
We're going back to last week where I don't understand any of your jokes.
Well, you see, somebody probably knows what I'm talking about in the chat. Tom Scott, great YouTube channel.
If you have to explain the joke, it is not a good joke, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? If you understood the joke, then I wouldn't have to explain it.
That's if you're telling a joke, it is not on the audience to be understanding of the joke. You tell a joke that people understand.
Look,
you have to know your audience, PhiNick.
You know what? I never claimed to be the greatest jokester in the world, or great at anything really. Kind of mediocre, actually, especially at League of Legends. Within one standard deviation of the mean, that's my rank. Actually, last season I was more than one standard deviation ahead of the rank, but I actually have not played much rank this season. I'm running out of material here as we're trying to go through a tech pause.
Yeah, you're really struggling here, buddy.
What's your third favorite place to visit?
Man, I barely leave my house. There's a pandemic going on.
Okay, imagine there weren't a pandemic going on. What is your third favorite place to visit?
My house. I don't leave my house whether or not there's a pandemic.
See, that's where
I am a shut-in, my friend.
I
do not travel.
Same here, and then I traveled the country on a whim, and now I can
You don't
be like,
ask a gamer what their favorite place to visit is. It's literally their chair.
You know what? Okay. Third favorite thing in your house.
I promise.
Television? I don't know.
Look, we're redoing the drafts, so we don't have to. We're getting nonsense bans. We're getting people just picking for a position or whatever. It'll be the Renekton pick. Third favorite place at the grocery store food is life. You know what? I totally think that's great. Scuffed production. I'll have you know, this is the least scuffed production you've ever seen.
Well,
no, it's pretty scuffed. We have a nice draft setup though.
It's funny because this is not the most scuffed production we've had this season.
We don't talk about scuffed productions. Scuff Gaming, based in Atlanta, actually makes like controllers and peripherals. I don't know where I'm going with that one. Regardless, we're going through the draft again. We can talk about the late matchups now, I guess. So you said Renekton doo-doos on Kennen. Now, please explain to me how this is a thing, because in my mind, Kennen abuses melee matchups.
Kennen does abuse melee matchups that cannot get on top of him. Renekton has a fair bit of mobility and can get onto the Renekton and blow him up, really chunk him out, and then play back safely while his cooldowns are down. Jarvan also really enjoys playing against Kennen, especially post level 6, because the Jarvan can fly in, lock him down, and then Kennen has to blow the flash to get out of the Cataclysm. Whereas Renekton can dash into the Cataclysm and make Kennen feel really bad. So Kennen has to play that very carefully. It can be a Kennen favored matchup, but Renekton has the tools to punish Kennen.
I never thought about it that way. But then again, I don't play Kennen or Renekton.
Or top lane.
Hey, I play top lane, Swain, Malphite, Anivia.
So you don't play top lane.
It's tank,
Two of those
Malphite,
champions are
and
not
Grasp,
top
Swain.
laner.
No. Swain is a top laner.
No, he's not. Not
Yes,
anymore.
he is. No,
Not
he is.
anymore.
You take Grasp. I play Karma top as well. You take Grasp of the Undying. Yeah. Look, you take Grasp on anyone, they're a top laner.
A grasp mage in the top lane is not a top laner. It's a cheese pick.
The Swain top is not a cheese pick. It's great in the melee matchups, much like Kennen. Moving on to the jungle, Nidalee versus Jarvan.
So the biggest thing really about this matchup is more about the lane's ability to set these two up. Jarvan, obviously, we talked about, can show up in the Kennen lane, really ruin that day. Jarvan does not want to really gank the Galio because that can just end very poorly. And bot lane, Braum is one of the best gank setup characters as far as setup versus actual just straight up engage. So Braum can set up the Jarvan nicely. Obviously, Jarvan can help with the stun setup on that. But the bigger thing that we mentioned before is Zedia on Nidalee. Nidalee is usually just a farm champion. But with these lane setups here, every lane has some kind of crowd control to set Nidalee up for a gank and just snowball out of control. So Zedia has everything set up for him to really pop off this game if they can coordinate it correctly.
Speaking of snowball, let's talk about this Renekton a little bit more after we talk about the rest of the lanes. You thought it was going one place and I went the other.
You're not supposed to. That's casting 101. Don't confuse your co-caster.
When have I ever followed that rule with you?
I'm not saying that you do. I'm saying you should.
In the bottom lane, we have Ashe Lulu versus Senna Braum.
Wait, we didn't even go over mid.
We could go over mid after bot lane. I think bot lane's
Okay,
more
fine.
interesting.
Anyway, Lulu and Ashe are a great combination there. Very safe, very utility oriented, and just getting through the lane and setting everybody else up. While also Ashe can really put out a good bit of damage with the Lulu picks added on. Senna Braum, all about just scaling, getting through the lane phase. Obviously, Braum's passive works weird with Senna, as Senna will auto Q auto and be able to set things up well, but if the Q is down, her attack speed is very low, and Braum's passive is hard to proc for her. Braum does enjoy being able to stand in front of the Senna and get a bunch of healing. The Braum does not really block a whole lot from the enemy team. Will be able to block the Galio Q. Nidalee Spear, really only useful if it's the first projectile that gets blocked. And obviously still getting stunned by the Ashe Arrow, which is the big reason you're going to be using it.
Yeah, and kind of on top of that, when you talk about this Braum pickup, I think it's worth it to look at where you're going to see other potential synergies in the team fights. You have Renekton, who can proc that very well as well, with similarly auto Q auto. And I think when you see this Braum, then you see the Lulu, you're like, I know you were kind of question marking the Braum pick, and it's not typically a lane you're going to see a Braum play with the Senna here. Typically, you're going to pick Braum with someone who can more easily proc the passive. But I think for the team fights, especially when you're up against a Lulu, who, by the way, does nothing against Renekton whatsoever, I quite like the pick. Lulu does nothing against Renekton. Slice goes through shields. I forgot that was a spell.
Huge.
Okay, but outside of Polymorph, the rest of her kit doesn't deal with him at all. Look. But my point is, I like the Braum with the Renekton, all right? I like the Braum with the Renekton.
Yes. If it with Braum can hit the Q, Renekton can dash in, even without the empowered W, will get another 2 stacks for free while stunning them up, and then can auto to extend the stun. So definitely enjoy that. If it is the empowered stun, you're kind of stacking stuns, which is not great, but
yeah. I don't know. I don't hate the pick. I like this draft more. Let's put it this way. I like this draft more from Microsoft Wild Growth. They have taken care of their late game scaling problem with the cast, which we didn't really touch on, but it is a much better lane to the Galio than the Ziggs, much more favored, I should say. And it scales super well. You also have Senna scaling on this team to make up for the fact that you have a Renekton. So you're kind of looking early game for this team to see Small Torch play around this Renekton, and then transition that into a late game where Cassiopeia ideally can just kind of free hit onto whoever comes close.
Yeah, the thing that I'm worried about more than anything with Microsoft though is, are they going to play to their team composition strengths? Because we saw, you know, how a team comp was supposed to be played last time around, and it just did not get played that way. There were a lot of positioning mistakes and just kind of playing things like, oh, well, we want to do this, but can we actually do that? So that's what I need to see Microsoft change up about their play style coming up.
Yeah. Let's see if they can make these adjustments into game number 2. I want a game 3. I think the Gold's last game showed that Microsoft can at least bring games to even. They just need to not get caught out and not let the tempo set from Google get the best of them.
We got more invades from Zedia here.
I mean, it's very strong when Renekton's on that side of the map right now. You see Coinbird getting chunked out quite a bit. Got a Senna as the AD carry. You'll be fine. Dragon Gary is getting punished by this Kennen pick quite a bit more than I think either of us expected. I mean, more than you expected.
Well, it is the early game, like early game. It is absolutely Kennen focus because you need to hit at least level 3 to be able to do your combo on Renekton.
Nope.
There you can see that is what the Kennen needs to be worried about. So it can go Kennen favored. It is, you know, once you hit that first item on Renekton, you get that, at the very least, get the lifesteal for the Renekton, and the engage potential alongside a gank can make this Renekton just pop off.
Oh, I mean, it's a nice stun.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. And now I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to pick up what you're putting down. But that still is like 10 CS on the first couple waves.
That I
feel
expect.
Really nice. Otherwise, things are relatively even across the board. We do see a Scuttle Crab getting taken, both actually by Googlers2. So they do have vision priority towards this bottom side of the map as well as top side. And that should go into a first Drake, as Senna really can't outpush the Ashe early. So, looks like they're playing around it too. Slice and dice onto... Okay, so now I see what you're talking about. I already said that, but okay. Okay.
Yeah. The more, once you hit that level 6 point on the Renekton, that's when it's really scary, especially once that Blade of the Ruin King starts getting the components built. That's when Dragon Gary is really going to be at this, like, okay, I am going to blow this Kennen up if he looks at me wrong section.
This is why I hate the matchup as Karma. Because in theory, Karma counters AD Bruisers, but not Renekton. Not Aurelia. Aurelia is another tough matchup for top lane Karma. Basically what I'm saying is, don't play top lane Karma, kids. It's
basically saying you're bad at top lane.
It's addictive. Look, I can play Malphite, I can play Swain, I can play Karma. I can play Poppy, I can play Shen. But into Renekton, I would definitely pick Malphite. Oh no. Oh no. Great bush trap from Dragon Gary.
Yep.
I thought that was going to be a kill. I've got to be honest.
No ignite, so not going to be a kill just yet. Important to note here.
Wait, this is high level play. They actually take TP.
Yes. We're not in our silver gold level games anymore, PhiNick. Yep, here we go.
Nice, but here comes a slicing maelstrom. Will be stun for stun. The first blood
Yep,
on
there you go.
Dominus. Well, so you see, Dominus
You
beats
see it now,
slicing maelstrom. Yep. Yep. All right. It is as I said it was.
You may be having some stream difficulties here.
I haven't dropped frames, so I believe this is a you need to reload thing. Small Torch is up top side, but because of this, they're able to get first tower, or not first tower, first dragon onto Zedia. So this is kind of what we expected from this Googlers2, getting the early dragon control once again. Yep. They did that in game number 1, and what we expected from Microsoft Wildgrowth here. I said last game I wanted to see Dragon Gary on a carry. He is starting to get these leads for his team. Yeah. He just needs to keep the snowball going.
Yeah, so the dragon will be taken here, and I'm kind of not a fan of how long Small Torch stuck around here, not really accomplishing a whole lot. You can see losing the blue buff now, and really the farm difference here. Zedia majorly ahead in farm right now, and Small Torch didn't even get an assist on that. That was a solo kill from Dragon Gary. So a lot of time kind of wasted and not a whole lot being done there.
Kyle. Oh no, not able to get the spear of the wall. Going back towards the AD carry. The flash, he's ignited up. Here comes Messes up. Flash, taunt, Q. That's 2 for 0. Flag and drag here though. We'll be able to trade it back. It's going to be 2 for 1 as the TP has been channeled by the Cassiopeia. They're not going to be able to offensively kite with her quite yet. It will be a 2 for 1. And 150 gold is shut down now on the head of the Galio as he picked up both those kills, completed the Proto Belt for that as well.
Yeah, so good rotation there, Dragon Gary. Getting a little bit too far forward there. But yeah, now the Bilgewater is ready. The armor coming through on Transpiercer with the arm guard, but still really in a rough spot right now. And Zedia,
I mean, you're gonna build that first on Kennen anyway, but
yeah. That is one of the possibilities for Kennen. That does not feel terrible, but it is still just not going to be doing a whole lot now, because the bigger issue is the lifesteal on this Renekton right now. Any poke that you were going to get through in this lane is now going to be null and void.
Winebird though, looking for stun, but the taunt was already there from the Galio. I will say, I'm surprised Transpiercer didn't take commencing stopwatch on his secondary tree. I feel like that's kind of something that you want to do as Kennen in these types of matchups where, like, it's a core item anyway. But
you might want it earlier in this matchup is the thing.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, for me, swaying against a tough matchup like this, I always take commencing stopwatch. Because I think the Seekers is worth more than the stopwatch in lane if you don't die more than once. You know?
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair point.
Monomude completed on the Ashe as well. Before Mr. Ham's able to complete it on the Senna. Is up 400 gold. Due to the 2 assists on the 1 plate.
This is a little rough here.
The flash, and that's going to be 1 kill over to Dragon Gary. Zedia's down. As Zista did make the ult into the fight. Small Torch will flash. And the Ashe arrow a little bit late.
That was very close. Mizuza almost walked back into that.
Slicing Maelstrom, Cataclysm, Dominus, and Hero's Entrance all used. And only a single kill to show for it, but that is onto the Nidalee. And, you know, if it's one person you want to shut down from Googlers, it is Zedia.
Absolutely, especially after the last game and the early just map control that he's been able to get in this game. Taking him down and forcing him to reset, slowing the tempo down. Huge thing. Especially to just help Small Torch get back into this game, as we do see now the tank Jarvan build coming through here. Looks like a Tiamat might be next on the menu. Not a super fan of the Tiamat, but
I'm not a huge fan of it either, and Jarvan doesn't really need it for his clear, but I do like the Cinderhulk. I think it definitely makes a lot of sense this game, and it made sense last game too, so it's a good adaptation from this Jarvan pick. I'm
actually really surprised here too. Dragon Gary has the Conqueror instead of the press the attack. Usually Conqueror is like if you're fighting up against a tank and you're going to be stuck in that fight for a long time. With Kennen, you're usually in and out, and press the attack really does a whole lot for you as you just dash in, you get the empowered stun for 3 auto attacks, and then you Q, get back out.
Yeah. Setting up around the dragon, though.
Uh-oh.
A nice 2-man knock up into the Ash Arrow, and as this picks up the kill onto the jungler. That should be Dragon.
That's a great setup.
That is an insanely good setup, but they're looking for more of the polymorph onto the Braum. They're able to get the knockup.
Yes, yeah.
Disengage with the ultimate cast. Gonna pop the ultimate, only able to get a slow one as Zatia, and that's the wild growth mindset. My gosh, but it will still be a 2-4-1. The dragon goes over, and it will be the Ocean Soul, but Microsoft wild growth mindset chewing through the wild growth.
Yeah, and this is looking eerily similar to our last game. The early gold advantage onto Microsoft and Google getting the early dragons down here. So
there's a huge difference, though. It begins with an R and ends with a ton. Yeah,
the Dragon Gary on something that can really kind of pop off and be scary in this 1v1 scenario is a huge difference in their composition. I think they're playing the same way, but in a composition that works a bit better in terms of the kind of like skirmish potential. So they kind of, it feels like they took a look at how they were playing and say, okay, if we're going to play this way, we need to pick champions that work better in that way.
Yeah. Archangel stuff completed on J-Splash as well. I'm gonna be interested to see if it's gonna be the Rylai's or Liandry's second item here. Generally speaking on Cass, I like to go Liandry's. However, this game, I'm feeling the Rylai's. Gotta be honest.
Yeah, I think that could probably work out better. I feel like it's a little bit more of a preference. I think the damage on this Galio would be, the Liandry's would be useful. It kind of depends on if you're looking to just kind of chase people down for that Rylai's, or if you want to keep, putting out a lot of damage, because there isn't a lot of super heavy like dive that Rylai's will stop. Kennen's gonna super speed it. Galio has the dash, so Rylai's doesn't help there. Same thing with the Nidalee as well. So it would be purely for offensive purposes if it is the Rylai's.
Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking, though, right? Because you're talking about running this comp wanting to run down the Googlers2 comp, and I think it's definitely that type of thing. As you see the Flag and Dragon, Cataclysm onto Transpiracy will pop the Slicing Maelstrom. Galio's gonna ult in, and that's gonna be Small Torch going down. You see the Dominus slice and dice. He's gonna get taunted up, though. Transpiracy, though, goes down very low, and Dragon Carry picks up the kill. The J-Splash on the side. He has TP'd into the fight. That will be first tower, and a 1-for-1 trade. Another one onto Dragon Gary.
And it's really unfortunate that Small Torch did go down there, because he is the one with the Rift Herald, so that could have turned into a lot more.
TP from Dragon Gary, though. They're looking for more. Zatia on the side of the fight.
Yeah, they knew Zatia was there. They wanted to make sure the dive didn't happen, so they TP'd Dragon Gary in there to make sure their bot lane did not die.
Oh, boy. Don't you just love bots on Twitch?
Not particularly. Not a fan.
By bots, I mean spam bots, not like useful bots.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Guys, if you wanna go to a fun Russian site,
please don't click the link. Oh boy. Link isn't suspicious at all, I ain't sure about that one, Chief. Regardless, we are in a Microsoft Wild Growth favored setup right now if they don't get Soul Point forced on them.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. And once again, like, technically the lead is on this Senna and Braum, but I feel like Shooks and Kyle F have the advantage. They've had the lane pushed in consistently, and they're really, really at a strong point right now. This Manamune stacking up a lot quicker here, and without the Black Cleaver finished there, the components of the Zeal are doing more for this Ashe, because her crit scaling is a lot more linear than any other AD carry with her passive.
Hex Drinker actually has been completed on both the Jarvan and the Renekton here. I like it a lot. Like, I don't think Maw's a great item, just in general, but Hex Drinker passive is so good against the Kennen, the Galio, and the Nidalee.
Absolutely.
Ashe Arrow.
Uh-oh.
Onto the Cassiopeia, but there's the stand behind me, followed up by the Unbreakable. We're going to see a hero's entrance as he tries to get the knockups. There's so much damage. Transpierce on the side, though. He gets a 3-man ultimate. That's going to be the turn of the fight. That's going to be the Jarvan going down, and Dragon Gary will be the next one to follow. The shutdown onto the Nidalee, and they're going to turn it. It might be the clean ace. Instead, it's going to be the 4-for-1 at the very least. Mr. Ham going to try to kite out of the way, but it's already over. It's an ace for 1, and Googlers2 for soul point.
Yeah, and Mizuza buying so much time for the rest of his team there. It was Transpiercer and Mizuza really giving Shooks and Zedia the ability to come back into that fight later on. It looked like it was going to start going south there, because J-Splash did get caught out, but the Braum was able to protect his mid laner for a long time. But then the Kennen ultimate and the Galio taunt really made sure there was no way for Mr. Ham or Dragon Gary to kind of work with their team. They were so split up. Yeah.
Mezusa and Transplacer, holy crap. Winebird, dash in a little bit as we see the Rift Herald being channeled. Just, oh god. That Kennen ultimate was the stuff of dreams.
The Kennen ultimate was huge, and once again, the Galio ult, really, or not the ult, but the taunt. There was just 2 big circles in that fight that Microsoft could not go through. And the one was blocking the tanks from getting back to their carries. The other was just blocking the carries from moving forward to meet up with the tanks. And it was played so well with how hectic that fight was.
Yeah, fully stacked Seraphs on J-Splash in the meantime, though. So, you have to, you always have to think about the Cassiopeia in this case. But the Ashe currently sitting on 2 items, as well as another crit cloak. To the Senna currently only on the 2 with no extras, and that's just purely on the fight. It's a big turn for Googlers2, but they are only up 200 gold. That's this Renekton. He's about to get to the fall-off point. They need to force something. Mezusa, though, gets the taunt. Going to be grounded up. Going to try to find the rest of the damage, but it's not going to be there. And Dragon Gary.
Can they chase him down, though?
Flash, but the Ashe Arrow got the stun. Cassiopeia is here. We'll be able to get an ult down, but it's only going to get the slow. Shooks, though, in a bit of trouble here. Going to get shielded up. Has some wild growth on him, but Shooks should still fall. Dragon Gary going to slice forward. Not going to be able to get the Q damage down. Shooks still alive. The Sentinel is
no!
Oh no, Shooks stays alive by the skin of his chin.
That was so unfortunate there, because there was so much burned. Every single ultimate used from Microsoft just to get that Galio who was already caught out. So Shooks there just barely not getting taken down low enough, and the slow's not able to follow up. And a lot burned for 1 kill there. If Google is able to pull forward here and make some kind of push right now before the ultimate cooldowns are back, this could end very poorly and bite them in the butt.
I'm interested by this Iceborne Gauntlet pickup from Zatia.
Yeah, this is usually just kind of
it. I've just never seen it before.
Yeah, so this is something that some Nidalees will go for if they're looking just to go for more of a kind of like skirmishy, frontlinery dive type. Because of how in the fight a Nidalee generally needs to get. If it is a beefier team comp where she's not going to just blow somebody up, she needs the resistances, and the slow also helps her team follow up and get more damage down. So not obviously she works really well with Sheen items because of her Q in Cougar form. It's not something you see a whole lot of because generally solo Q Nidalees will just try and get super big and pop people. But with coordinated play and being a little bit more of a beefier comp that she's fighting against, this is something that you will see time to time.
Yeah, Google's turnaround though has been like they were trailing, now they're slightly ahead, but honestly, like they got Soul Point in 40 seconds
once again,
and Microsoft Wild Growth mindset doesn't have the ability to get into the pit at all.
Yeah, it's
like you
a
have
very scary situation right now.
With TP, that is your only way to get into the pit. Like Flag and Drag, Galioton. I mean, heck, even Slice and Dice, Galioton. Like you're gonna need a Bra multi into a Cataclysm, I think is how they're gonna have to play this.
Yeah, I think they need to try and get a similar situation to catching that Galio out if they want to make something happen. But this Dragon is spawning now, and they are second to the punch here.
Fucking drag over the walls. Zatia on the side. Some damage down on.
Zadia too far forward.
They're going in. Zatia! He's down! And the TV's being channeled. It's gonna be a fun against 4. The taunt lands on a 4-member zone. Coinberg gonna go ahead and pop the zone. His Hourglass says Dragon Gary makes his way out of the fight. Shooks blown up. It's a disaster for Google as the shutdown lands onto the Cassiopeia. And they're running into Transpiercer now. Dragon Gary has gotten the kill onto Mezusa. Transpiercer gonna be the next one to fall as Mr. Ham 10 picks up the kill. It's an ace for 1 in the turn for Microsoft. They're gonna pick up their first Dragon of the game, and they couldn't have done it a moment too soon.
And there was so many misplays there from Google as Transpiercer was up on the top side ulting, and I believe it was only one person he was hitting. Meanwhile, Mezusa had set him up perfectly for that fight there. If he had gotten over, that would have been a clean wipe. Hitting a taunt on 4 people, Kennen did not get into there. And unfortunately, that did cost them huge on that fight, as Zedia did just go down immediately. So Shooks tried to follow up and get into that fight, but it was too little too late as the Jarvan was able to turn on him immediately and take him down.
Yeah, and J-Splash now, 2-1-5, completed Rylai's Crystal Scepter, moving on to the Leandry's Torment next, and yeah, well, Cass is very scary at this point.
That is the Galio all down now as well.
Yeah, Hero's Interest burned. I mean, you kind of have to. Zatia's not doing as hot this game as he was last game, and he's still 200 gold ahead of the enemy jungler, but the enemy jungler is full tank, so yeah. It's not so fast as right, my Poro-loving friend.
Yeah, so now we are looking Nidalee getting into more of a supportive style build here. Going to be the Athenes coming through. Rest in peace for next season, as Athenes will be removed, and I'm very sad about it.
I'm not sad.
I know you're not.
I'm glad. We're going to get a game 3. We're going to get a game 3. I just jinxed it. I just cast or cursed it, but...
Yes, you did. I honestly can see Google winning this game pretty easily here.
They just need a dragon.
Well, the thing is, they've been playing team fights better outside of just that last one. Yeah. And I think those mistakes can be remedied. They probably know what went wrong in that fight and can turn that around for the next time around. Obviously,
and Dragon it was
literally just that Kennen. It was literally just that Kennen ult. If that had been over the wall on those 4 people, that is an entirely different fight.
I mean, he got grounded from flashing. It is what happened there, so... J-Splash. Doing a solid job. We have 3 items on the Senna now. opting into the RFC third item. So this is like a straight AD carry Senna thing, because you're not going to get as many souls as if you did support. So you want the 25% crit plus the extended range on the auto attack. So I quite like this. I quite like this. Souls.
Yeah. So we do have Baron on the table, but not going to be really a focus for any of the teams. And you can see right now the vision control game from Google here. You can see they have all of the river lit up on that top side. They have jungle vision in the blue side of Microsoft right now. And with Dragon up in a minute 43, that's where you want that vision. You want to know, okay, when are they trying to set up for this dragon so we can go and clear their vision. We know we can push forward and keep our control of that area. Right now, the dragon is being set up already a minute and a half in advance.
Yeah, and Google, they just need one dragon or one fight. Microsoft at the same time, though. They don't need one dragon, they need more than that, but a fight is a Baron for them. And there's so much you can do with a Cassiopeia with Baron buff, and a Renekton with Baron buff, and a Dragon Gary getting Transpiercer.
It could, yeah, that's going to be the cannon alt burned, and that's a huge cooldown used right now, as it is going to be down for this dragon fight here.
Yeah, and you don't want to see it, but at the same time, I'd rather have the ult be down than the cannon be out entirely.
Honestly, death timers probably looking. The teleport is up. You may have actually just taken the death there.
Maybe.
I mean, that is arguable. I will say that is not. I'm saying that is the better call, but it is an arguable point that you just take the death and keep the cannon ult for this Ocean Soul.
Dragon Gary's into the fight now. Galio on the bottom side. Transpiercer. Half of his ult cooldown remaining. Ash Arrow lands on with Cassiopeia. Not going to be able to get the follow-up spear, but the Flash Taunt's already there for the Galio. He's able to get the knockout, the Polymorph on to the enemy carry. But the Stun Lance from Cassiopeia, they're able to turn the fight. Mezusa on the Zhonya's Hourglass will fall. It will be a 1-for-1. It's a jungler for a mid laner. And here comes the Ash. Transpiercer has the ultimate in a couple seconds, but he doesn't have it yet. Here comes the Tia, gonna flash out of the way. Dragon Gary goes down, lets it shut down onto the Ash. Coinbird, the next one to follow is Mr. Hand flashes over the wall. He will fall as well, and it's just J Splash remaining. I thought for a second Microsoft would have had it, but that's gonna be the soul to Googlers2.
Yeah, and Mezusa really confirmed that fight there. Did die, but bought so much time getting the knockups, just forcing 4 people to sit on top of him as he dashed in, got the taunt down, then used the Zhonyas. They could not walk past him because when he popped out, he was going to do more damage. And
just
throughout all of that in the backside, Shooks was able to burn down this Jarvan. The damage that they had taken from the Galio meant that the Renekton, even dashing in on Zedia, got flashed away and then was stuck so far forward that Shooks could just melt him down.
He's smurfing. I mean, this is an uncapped league, so he's not actually he's smurfing on him, Absolute unit.
Yeah,
oh my
Shooks
God.
is really just massive right now, and like I mentioned before, Zedia has that more supportive build, so able to really just buff him up, getting the attack speed from the heal and a burst of healing as well because of the Athenes. Right now, it is just Mezusa sits up there, tanks a bunch, and Shooks has more than enough damage to melt them down.
That said, J Splash lived through the fight. And this is desperation central because he had a 10-stack Dark Seal. He's cashing it in. So this man now has a Liandry's as well as the Magi's. And I think this is just what you have to do here as the Cass. It's do or die time. You don't have any Grievous wounds other than the Jarvan, though. Oh, now Senna has it. Okay. still.
Yeah, it definitely is a bit of a rough spot right now. Because this
Desperation
Ocean
Central.
Soul is super great. Ashe is going to heal up like mad. Despite having the tier build, basically has the healing as if the Blade of the Ruin King was there. And there's just so much protection as well. Even if you do dive onto this Ashe, between the heal from Nidalee and the Lulu as well, it is so hard to take her down. But then you can't burn through Mezuzah right away either. He's buying too much time.
Yeah, we see Transpiercer taking 2 towers on the top side. 2 top towers, as it were. I got double Baron cannon minions that will be top lane inhib tower and then the inhib. You can't outpush this team right now.
Yeah, you basically have to hope that Google messes up. Mezuzah goes too far forward. They make some kind of mistake like they did in the one fight where Transpiercer was not able to get over the wall. It has to be over-aggression that really puts Google on the back foot here.
Yeah, but I mean, they're playing this perfectly. They're using what they have as far as siege power goes to their advantage. Flag and drag is up for small torch, but not going to use that. Cassiopeia can't even offensively kite right now. This is...
Yeah. I mean, you don't want her to, basically. You want Mezuzah to dive or Transpiercer to dive, and you want J-Splash to be able to kite it out. That's your win condition at this point in time.
2 minutes on Elder, 240 on the Baron. Coinbird. Get the wave prepped for the Cassiopeia.
And honestly, I think at this point, with the Knight's Vow that is going to be coming through for Coinbird, I think you just put it on the Cassiopeia. You put it on the Cassiopeia, she's doing more damage, so you're getting more healing from it. I'm hoping it's not just the blind put it on the AD carry because kind of mentality.
I expected Morello's up against the Ocean Soul team. He's going for the Banshees.
Yeah. I
don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, that's a hard call. You need both of them is the thing.
Your team's only real good way to get Grievous, though? Like, yeah, Mr. Ham can.
Well, you're also your team's only, like,
damage source.
Super big source of DPS in fights.
Yeah. This is a tough decision. Like, I could go either way.
Here's what I'm thinking here. When you are behind, you need to get, either like you need to get damage and survivability. And I think the Banshees is probably the better call there. Because you're burning through people who probably aren't doing a whole bunch of damage first. Like you're burning through the Galio who's gonna be doing less damage and healing less from the Ocean Soul than somebody like the Ashe. So, I can't really fault either decision here.
Actually, you know why it's a tough decision? It's because she didn't buy boots. Transpiercer on the side. No, the flash over with the lightsaber.
Yeah, good night.
Down goes Mr. Ham. Galio's here with the ultimate. The ult hits from the cast onto 3, but it's all too little, all too late. Down goes Dragon Gary, and it's a 3-for-0. Faster than you could bat an eye. The stun lands. Small Torch can flash out of the way. That's basically game here. Gonna look for the push for the
flash forward here from Shoots.
W, Small Torch with the flag and drag up, and he's gonna take so much damage from the Ashe. He just melts. Tia goes in, the flash from the Galio, but Cass is fast at level 16, level 17. 4-for-0. That's going to be the inhib, that's going to be the towers, and that's going to be the game, set, match. Googlers2 will take the Game 3 matchup, improve to 3-0 overall in a 2-0 series. Impressive play from this team, but I gotta shout out Mezusa. Solid on the Galio both games, but this game, absolutely phenomenal on some of these engages.
Yeah, both Transpiercer and Mezusa doing a lot this game to set up the rest of the team. Shooks obviously does have the 6-1-10 scoreline, but I think the engage potential from Transpiercer and Mezusa are really what allowed for that Ashe to be able to do what she did. And honestly, both games kind of coming back from a rough early game, kind of falling behind just slightly, and not just kind of starting to throw in the towel, not being like, oh, we can't do this because we're behind. A lot of really great engages and turning fights around really catapulted them to take that lead over and get back into these games.
Yeah, I like this game, like both Transpiercer and Mezusa did so well. Exactly as you said, slicing Maelstroms were basically perfect, except for the one that he literally couldn't execute because Cassiopeia grounded him over the wall. And Mezusa, so many good taunts, so many good ults. This is really, really good play from both of these players. Zatia, game number 2, didn't really do as much, but game number 1 was very, very, very good and instrumental to that victory. And Shooks quietly has a 6-1-10 game.
Yeah.
Quietly.
Well, I think it's just because it was just the damage constantly being out, and that wasn't the big plays. It was the engages that set that up. The KDA does not tell the whole story in this game. I also think Zedia really in the early game pathed extremely well. We saw such a huge farm advantage in the early game. And while it was not like the big, I'm going to blow people up Nidalee build, that's not what you needed. Zedia did what he was supposed to, got the early advantage, was super strong and able to duel anybody early on, and then transferred that into a supportive build to allow for Shooks to basically just be unstoppable between the heals from Zedia and the shields and ultimates from Kyle F.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have much more to say. I'm just awestruck by that, by this game, and they were both exciting games too, right? It wasn't just this one-sided idea. And a lot of that has to do with Microsoft having some good plays, right? Yeah, Dragon Gary of course stomped the early game, but and did very well in both games. But I gotta point out, J Splash did very well in the Cassiopeia in that mid game. It could have gone the other way, and I think that is definitely something to point out. That said, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break as we get ready to interview one of the members of the Googlers2 squad. So we'll be right back. Don't touch that browser. See you in a bit. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Corporate Esports Association Week 3 matchup between the Googlers2 squad and Microsoft Wild Growth. I always forget the last word. Wild Growth Mindset. I'm joined by Thousand Eyes, and we are joined by the captain and mid laner of the Googlers2 squad. It is Shooks and Mezusa. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us for this interview. So, first thing I'd like to ask, and this one's for Shooks here, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do at Google and a little bit about your charity?
Yeah, so I can't speak for everyone personally, but I do work on YouTube ads. And I think Prashant is the one who, Prashant is Mizuza. He chose our charity, so he can talk more about that.
Yeah, sure. So Annie Cannons helps victims of human trafficking by providing them a path to the future by teaching them how to write software. So I think this sort of came about because when I left college, my first job was working on some anti-human trafficking stuff. And so, I read up and found out a lot about that, and it's not something that that I like very much. So I wanted to pick something that could make a change there. As far as what I do at Google, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's very admirable of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just playing games, and if that helps some people, that's pretty great. But yeah, as far as what I do at Google, I've been working on apps search, so stuff that on Drive and Gmail. It's Google has a pretty interesting search stack.
Understandable. And if I'm not mistaken, the world's largest index, right? How big is that one?
Something like that. I don't think I'd be at liberty to say, but I also don't know. So.
All right. So on to questions about the game. Thousand, you go ahead first.
Yeah. So one of the things that I kind of was wondering is you guys both games picked the Galio blind, and some people would say that is really risky to do because he has a couple of really bad matchups. So what were you guys kind of thinking of oh, we're just gonna take the Galio here?
Yeah, so actually in practice we've been having some trouble dealing with Galio. We've tried to counter it a few times, and it's just kind of tough since it has so much global presence and it stuffs a lot of plays that you want to make elsewhere on the map. So we were pretty comfortable just taking it and using that to our own advantage.
Solid. When they say someone, they're referring to me, but then again, I ain't good at League of Legends. I just talk fast, so if I've worked out very well for you guys. And speaking of for you, Mezusa, when especially in game number 2, there were quite a few fights where you turned around the fights on the Galio. So perhaps maybe you can step through some of the thought processes, specifically the first one around the Dragon Pit, what was kind of going on there with you and with your top laner on that cannon as well.
Yeah, so I guess the main thing with our comp there was we have a lot of CC and a lot of ways to sort of support the cannon when he decides to go in. And so we set up some flank vision and let our captain here just start the fight with an arrow. And I was able to dive in with my top laner and kind of control the fight quite well.
Yeah, it was really well done. Your separation, the tanks from the carries there was just what were they gonna do? You split up the fight. It was real. I enjoyed watching that. It was really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, credit goes to Kennen and Ash there. I just pressed R. They got in position, so.
Yeah, one of the other things I was wondering too is both games I noticed Zedia was pathing like really aggressively, and just like is he checking in with you guys and being like, hey, can I like go in here? Are you guys gonna be able to follow up if I'm like going deep in and invading or like trying to like play really aggressively in the early game? Because both games it seemed like I would look at the map and he was just in or around the enemy jungler, and I'm like, he's really got to be careful or he's gonna get caught out.
Yeah, I think we're just used to it at this point. He loves playing aggro, so I mean, if he's there, we're just always looking, ready to follow.
Like, oh god, here we go again.
Yeah.
Just like the GTA San Andreas.
Yeah.
Right there. All right, so before we wrap up the interview, is there anything you guys would like to say, either to Twitch chat or to the other teams out there? Any final remarks, shout outs, etc.?
I guess thanks to Twitch chat. Thanks for tuning in, watching. It's kind of awesome to have a bit of an audience one way or another. To all the teams out there, like, we're getting pretty good. We'll give you a run for the title.
And Shooks, you got any shout outs or things to say to the Twitch chat or other teams in the league?
Yeah. Shout out to the rest of our team as well who aren't here in the interview room. I think everyone always plays their part, so it's a team effort.
Yeah, and thank you guys for coming on, and thank you for the 2 games there. Those were very entertaining to watch and very entertaining to cast. And that's pretty much it from everyone here at Corporate Esports Association, the admins, league staff, production crew, and everyone in between. My name is PhiNick.
My name is Thousand.
And we'll see you next week, same time, same place.